So today I want to talk to you about brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's a protein complex in the brain. I just think it's really important that us yogis and yoga professionals are empowered with neuroscience for two reasons. One, we all want to optimize how our brain functions, whether we feel mentally well or we don't. And two, we can start to work towards specific practices that at least may affect the brains in particular ways. We don't know 100% yet. It's a nascent field, but that knowledge is growing. So BDNF, what is it? Colloquially, we say it's the fertilizer of the brain. So what does that mean? Helps the brain to grow. And two things it does in this domain. One, it helps to create connections between neurons that may not have been there before. We call those dendrites. And the other, it is vital in the process of the brain actually creating new neurons. And that's important because, yes, neurons die. And so we want to have them regenerated as much as possible, especially in certain structures associated with cognitive flexibility, resiliency, etc. Most of the brain we want to be very robust. So the question is, what is the relationship between yoga and brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or what we almost always call BDNF? Well, there's a large collection of research and exercise that shows that movement increases BDNF. And the more intense the movement, the more BDNF we have. So it's probably not surprising that in 2003, Gangadhar's lab, right, that's a lab in India, and Gangadhar was the head of the National Institutes of Mental Health and Neuroscience for all of India, right, that they found that yoga increased BDNF in a depressed population. And that's possibly even more meaningful. Because when we think of depression and we think about pharmaceutical targets, we often think serotonin, right? Most of us do. I know that if you're a pharmacist, you might have a broader conception, but you usually think serotonin, right? Can this specific pill increase the neurotransmitter serotonin? Now, if it can, in your large clinical trials, it may go to market, but it's not the only thing that matters. You must also increase BDNF. Without that, you are not going to have the shifts in the brain that you need to resolve some of those mood states. And so Gangadhar's lab did a research study in 2013 showing that practicing yoga increased BDNF as much as individuals on medication. And then in psychological scales, yoga actually decreased depression more than the medication, so the perception of depression. Since then, there have been at least 3 other studies looking at the same thing. So this is very exciting. If you're thinking about talking to somebody in the world of psychiatry about the value of yoga for their patients, this might be something you want to bring in. And I personally, if any of you out there are researchers, would love a clinical trial comparing metabolically matched rate of exercise and seeing if BDNF increased more with other forms of exercise or yoga, or if they were equal. Anyway, that's just my wish. I hope that's helpful. Namaste.